Hello, Alex.
Hi, I have a question. I tuned in halfway through the show today, and you were talking about in vitro and how it's frowned upon by the Catholic Church.
Yes, that's right. And the reasons are many, and we could take a whole hour talking about that, I'm sure, Tim.
Sure.
But let me just kind of cut to the chase in the main points.
Yes.
First of all, the child deserves to be the product of the loving union between a husband and wife and a conjugal embrace of husband and wife making love the way God intended. So first of all, the child has a right to be conceived and born in the natural way. That's the first thing. The second thing is that God designed the marital embrace, sexual union between man and wife, to have two components. One is the unitive, where they come together and they're totally unified. And the second is the procreative, where they're open to a new life, a new child can be created. And what in vitro fertilization does is it separates those two, or attempts to, and the procreative is the only goal, and the unitive is not. So the whole sexuality of the husband and wife is really torn asunder by in vitro fertilization. So because of that, the church does not approve of it. It also turns the child that's produced into a commodity. The child is no longer viewed as a gift from God, but now is viewed as a commodity, something to be produced in the laboratory. And you have interlopers, if you will, in the relationship of the husband and wife. You have technicians, you have doctors who are now part of the conception process, when really that process should be between the husband, wife, and God, and only them.
Do you think, Dr. Delgado, it's odd how today people have this notion that I have a right to have a baby, when in fact the baby is the only one that has rights here?
That's right. Absolutely. And everything's been turned upside down.
Right.
Really, we forget that the husband and wife, the only right they truly have is the right to each other's bodies when you give those vows.
Right.
But the child is a gift, not a right.
Exactly. Great question. Alex, does that help?
Yes, and I have another question. So if since it is considered a sin, I guess, to have a child like that, when you don't have the ability to have any more children, is the sin passed, I guess, on to the child as well? Or?
Is what passed on to the child? The sin?
Said, yeah.
Well, only in the biblical sense that sins are passed down from one generation to another, and it's not that the guilt of the sin is imputed on the child, but the consequences of the sin very well may be. And we talked about earlier how children produced or conceived in vitro fertilization have more birth defects. They likely will be born into families where the marital relationship is not as strong, right, because they have not kept to God's plan. So because of that, they will suffer the consequences of that sin. Yes, indeed.
That's right. But of course, they're not guilty of, right?
No, right.
The sin of the parents. But Alex, we've got to move on.